No, we didn't finish. Oh, and by the way, hey, this is we're in the home stretch, people. If you are not paying attention in class, this is what's gonna happen from now on. You're gonna leave everything on your desk. You're just gonna go outside and sit and look at the wall for the rest of the class. You're not gonna be playing your iPad or playing on your phone. You're just gonna, you wanna be bored, you're gonna be bored. But you're gonna be bored outside class.
All right. No, it's not right.
Okay, so we only have like 2 more problems to do, right? No, we gotta finish number 15. Did you guys finish it?
Yeah.
Okay, now this is super important, this problem. Guaranteed this is on the free response. What was that?
Oh, it's apart. Come to the game tonight.
We got math team practice.
No, after. It's at 6 o'clock.
Is that volleyball?
Yeah.
Oh,
Lord
I have my grandmother's birthday party.
Your grandmother's dog's birthday party?
Yeah. So sorry, can't make it.
Grandmother.
Wait.
Separate the variables. Well, tomorrow we have our last math meet. You're gonna come?
Yeah.
It's at Hanalani School.
What time? I live in Milwaukee. What time is it? What time is it?
From 9 to 11:30.
I'll see you there.
I'm gonna come and I'm gonna bring my pom-poms.
Can I come actually?
Okay, we're pressed for time.
I'm gonna bring my pom-poms.
Integrate both sides. 1/3 y cubed is equal to x squared. And what do I do with the 2 plus c's? And please, because I remember you guys during the regular year, you guys are waiting several steps and then you put on the plus c if you can. Because it changes. Because when you do stuff to both sides of the equation, it changes the functions.
Wait, what are we
and
doing?
when you add the plus c later, it's too late already.
What are we doing?
You have to add the plus c as soon as you take the antiderivative.
We're just solving for y, huh?
Yeah, so you gotta solve for y. In fact, wasn't this one of the first few problems on the multiple choice?
Yeah. Second,
Yeah,
third.
you've gotta be able to do this. Okay, now how do I compute the value of c? They will give you an initial condition, and in this case it's y of 1 equals 3. That means if you plug in 1 for x and 3 for y, you can figure out what c is. So what is that? 27, that's 9, equals 1 plus c. c is 8. So now that we know c is 8, now you can solve for y. So how do I get rid of this 1/3? Multiply both sides by 3. And then how do I get rid of the cube? You cube root both sides. And there you just got full credit on the AP exam.
Yeah.
It's the same procedure all the time. You just have to make sure you take the correct antiderivative and then make sure you put the plus c. It's not difficult. Okay, number 16. If you are given a rate, this is the rate at which water is flowing from a pipe. How many times have you done this? How do you figure out how much water flowed out of the pipe during the first 3 minutes? You do an integral. So you just integrate this rate, whatever it is, dt, from 0 to 3. Okay, now, the kinds of integrals you get on this exam. Either it's on the list or it's u substitution. That's the only kind they can give you. So what do you think about this one? U substitution. U equals t squared. What? T cubed plus 9. Du equals 3t squared dt. Just remember, whatever you let u equal to, the derivative has to be inside the integral as well. See? T squared dt. T squared dt, so that you know it's going to work. So this integral becomes, what is that? Radical u. And then t squared dt is right there. What is that equal to? Du over 3, right? But then we put the 1/3 on the outside. And then the limits change, because some of you are still not changing the limits. What are the new limits? Tagawa.
36.
Okay, again, you go from bottom to top.
Oh yeah. 9
9 to
36.
There you go. And then you find the antiderivative. This is like u to the half, so make the power 1 bigger. Put the reciprocal in the front. And then don't forget the 1/3 there. And then 9 to 36. I like to factor out the constant. And so you got 2/9 times, what is 36 to the 3/2 power? You square root it and then you cube it. What's the square root of 36?
148.
6, what? And then you cube it.
It's 216.
216 minus
27.
27, and then well, if this is free response, then you just leave it like that already. Don't even attempt to simplify that. However, if it's multiple choice, you gotta compute it and pick out the correct answer. And then the last problem, okay, this is the easiest thing, this is the last thing we learned, and so that's why on Monday you're gonna get your first real quiz. Every single day you're gonna get a free response problem. The easiest one is always the area volume problem, that's this one right here.
Just one problem.
Yeah, but it's like ABC.
Oh, okay.
Okay, number 17. R is the region bounded by. Now, in most cases on the AP exam, they actually draw the picture for you. But once in a while, they don't. And anyway, these are all base graphs. Okay, so there's your region. Compute the area of this region right here. This is part A. So when you have this problem on the AP exam, you gotta nail it. You gotta get a 9 out of 9. Okay, first of all, this point of intersection over here, just by inspection, what is it? 4, comma 2. Okay, good. So, make a rectangle. What's the length of the rectangle? Top minus bottom, which is what? That's the length of the rectangle. What is the infinitesimal width? So length times width is the area of that rectangle. And if you want to find the area of the whole region, you add up all of these rectangles from 0 to 4. So you got 1 point for that. No. Yes. Because this is going to be worth 3 points. So that's 1 point. Next point, can you take the antiderivative correctly? 2x minus, that's like x to the half. So x to the 3 halves with the 2/3 in the front from 0 to 4. So you just got yourself another point. And then the last point is, can you plug in the numbers?
8.
So 8 minus, now what is 4 to the 3 halves?
8.
4 to the 3 halves is
8.
8. So 16 over 3 minus 0 minus 0. And if this is a free response, you just leave it right there. That's full credit. Because some of you would have problems making the least common denominator. Yeah?
Do you have to box your answer on the top?
Yeah, you should, but we're trained when we're trained to like grade the papers. They said, if it's on the paper, you gotta count it.
So it's like if they did the problem and for the reason they wrote the answer like super far away.
Yeah, we have to hunt for it. But we're Iolani people. Come on.
Wait, so
Make
if
them-
you
make
did
them
all
a
the work
maze.
wrong but got the right
Make them
answer.
a maze.
If you did all the work wrong but got the right answer, you get 1 point, and then you lost.
Draw
2.
lines everywhere.
But if
Yes.
you
Go
did
look for it.
On next week's quiz, do we have to figure out this riddle?
No, you do it like you're trained to. Just leave it right
There's 2
there.
guys in the car.
What if you do the problem 2 ways? So what if you do the problem 2 ways and you get 2 different answers? Okay, this is how we grade it. We grade this problem, so it's out of 3. So maybe, okay, this is correct, you got 3, but you did it another way, and then you got 1. So what we do is, no, that's a bad example. Let's say 0. So if you have 2 solutions there, then this is what we do. We average the 2 and truncate. That's the rule. That's the rule.
What?
Wait, what's
So you get
On average, the average of 3 and 0 is 1.5, and you truncate, so you get 1.
what's truncate?
Get rid of the decimal part. No, that's the rule for, I believe that's the rule for every subject, not just math.
What if you like X it out?
Okay, the rule is we don't look at x dot work.
Oh, okay.
So once you put an x on it, we don't look at it.
Oh, good thing you graded
You get
tests.
paid.
Yeah, no, if your teacher is a grader, there's a big advantage. And if your teacher is like, writes the problems, that's even a bigger advantage.
Oh, you read Miss Goldman
No,
right over here.
How much do you get paid to grade?
You sit there for hours.
It's not little, but it's not a lot.
Like $5 a test?
No, it's not, it's per, you grade for like a week, so when I was there, we went to Colorado State University and we just stayed there for a week and we just keep grading. So they teach you how, okay, here's problem 1. So they teach all of us how to grade problem 1. This is how many points you get for this. So we all do the training and then we go into the rooms and we just keep on going until we finish all of number 1. Then they train us on problem number 2 and then we just keep on going to the whole test is done.
What if they make a mistake?
Well, okay, that happens. That happens.
Good question.
Well, they have what you call
Yeah, that's
table
different.
leaders. So like, we have our, I'm not just a regular grader, but they have table leaders and they can't check every single paper, but once in a while they'll check your work. So yeah, you could get ripped off. Or, but then
Well,
you
better
could
not
get
ripped
like
off then.
rewarded when you're not supposed to too.
Better not get ripped off then.
Okay, let's finish this. B. The base of the solid is R. So this is the slice. This is exactly like Monday's quiz, people. This is almost exactly like. So I'm expecting to see all 9s. Plus, I'm gonna add 1 for the 10.
Right.
Okay, so this is the base. Cross sections perpendicular to the x-axis are equilateral triangles. So if I put this on the cutting block and remove a slice, the slice is gonna be an equilateral triangle like this. Now, what is the base of the equalateral
Oh.
triangle? It's the length of the rectangle, which is
That's weird.
2 minus root x. And if you know what the side of an equilateral triangle is, how do you find the area?
4/3 side squared.
2, 3 over 4 times the side squared. Please don't forget the square, because some of you forgot the square last night. But there's a thickness to it,
Yeah.
dx, and then you add up all of these from 0 to 4. Since you're doing it in terms of x, you go from x to x. Now, do we have to actually compute down? Where does it say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, write an integral. Oh, that's just like Monday's quiz.
So you just write it.
So the only one you're actually gonna have to compute on Monday, I think, is down right there.
Nice.
It's almost exactly.
So that's it for B?
Yeah, because that's it. You wrote an integral. And please put the dx. That means.
What if you don't put it?
1 point off.
Now, write an integral that represents the thing if we revolve it about the x-axis. So if this thing gets revolved about the x-axis, let me erase this. That's why you need to draw in the rectangle. If this rectangle gets revolved around the x-axis, what shape is that?
It's a washer.
It's a washer, and do we remember the formula? Are you guys looking in your notes? So part C, pi. Big R squared minus little r squared dx. So once you know it's a washer, you just write this down, and then now you look at your picture. Big R goes from the center to the outer edge right there. How do you find that distance? Top minus bottom. 2 minus 0. And then the inner radius is this. Top minus bottom. Root x minus 0. Now you don't have to put the 0, but I'm just showing you. And then you add up all of these washers from 0 to 4. And you just leave it like that. Don't even try to simplify it. And the last thing is now we're going to revolve it about the line y. Oh, let's just draw another picture. So if I revolve this about, here's the line y equal 2, you're going to get a, that's a disk. Now what's the formula for the disk? Pi times the radius squared dx.
Oh, this is like.
And the radius is simply the length of that rectangle right there, which is top minus bottom. And then you add up all of these from 0 to 4. And don't even try to multiply that out. Just leave it.
Why?
Because if you multiply it out wrong, you take off a point, a whole point.
Plus they only want the
2 minus.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, some people might feel like, well, I have to expand that. But no, don't. Because if you volunteer any information that's wrong, points are coming off.
But what if,
And there's no such thing as minus a fourth or minus a half. It's minus 1. That's
but
big.
that answer's already there though?
Wait, Mr. Park.
No, I'm saying some people might be compelled to multiply that out. I'm telling you, don't. Yeah.
You know how you're talking about down over there when we were finding something. Forget. What if you like forget to put dx when you're doing your work, but you still get the right answer? Or something
Okay, you
like
want the
that.
truth?
Yeah.
Well, the 4 years that I graded AP exams, we didn't take off for the DX.
Yes.
But I don't know how they do it now.
No, they never
When did you
changed.
grade them?
This is kind of, Some of my children are kind of small. And then when they got bigger, then I couldn't do it. Because baseball season is in the summer.
So like, when we were
Yes.
Okay, so when I graded AP exams, like if you didn't put the DX, you got full credit. But I don't know how to do it. See, they don't determine how they give the points until they get to the site.
Oh my.
Oh. So each of these, like, I don't think they're gonna give 4. They'll give you 3 of these. It's gonna be 3 points each. I don't know how the points are assigned.
Oh.
So maybe on one of them they might count the dx as a point. But I'm pretty sure they're not gonna count dx. They're not gonna take off 3 points for dx on all 3 of them. You know what I'm talking about? They don't wanna dock you more points.
Then you.
Yeah.
Because they want you to pass.
What is that?
Yeah.
Wait, 17's the last one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, put your papers together and pass it in. Ching.
Do you want any staple it?
No need staple.
What about this one?
I'll give it back to you on Monday. Okay, and then, I couldn't sleep last night.
Why?
Thinking about you guys. I couldn't sleep.
Oh, thinking
I
about
woke
this.
up about
Here,
2:30
sing a lullaby.
and I started thinking about AB calculus and no can fall asleep. So I just came to school at 5:30. Okay, send it to my email.
Wait, you don't need that. You keep this one.
Oh,
Keep this one for me.
that's nice. I kind of figured out B, but
Jay, did you do your homework?
Is it part, is it M?
oh, what?
mpark@iolani.org. Okay, let's go over as many. Anyway, this is what I came up with. Usually, at the end of class, this is the last 20-something years when there's extra time, we usually do drills. But I think this year, we're gonna have to spend more time doing drills.
No.
Yes.
What type of?
I want to.
Like just quick drills, like things you're supposed to know. Like one of the things on today's quiz was this. What's the derivative of f of g of x?
I got it.
That's the chain rule.
F
So
prime.
what is it?
F prime of G of X.
Times.
Times G prime X.
Exactly.
I was gonna put that.
That's, and we just keep doing drills like this. Do, 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 do.
I was gonna put that, but then you said
What's the
times
other
up.
one? The integral one, the last one, number 20.
Wait, I
Okay, that's another one.
What
The
was that?
integral of f prime of x dx from a to b is equal
F
to
of B minus
f of b minus f of
right.
a.
Plus C.
That's the, no, that's the fundamental theorem of calculus part 2. You take the antiderivative of that, which is f,
So was that on the
you
list?
plug in the top, plug in the bottom, no, it wasn't on that list, but that's just something you should know.
Did I put that or did I erase it?
Okay, let's just do this. Okay, number 1, this is what you're supposed, now, I don't know, I hope you're not getting it by luck now. Okay, you look at that and go, hey, that's the definition of the derivative. What function am I taking the derivative
Cosine.
of?
Cosine X.
Cosine x, which is negative sine x, and then, but since there's a number there, that means you have to plug that number into the derivative. So if you plug in 3 pi over 2 into the derivative, 1, you get negative 1, which is 1. Did we all get that?
Yes.
So Mr. Park,
Yeah,
if you took the AP exam, you get everything right. Do
I
you think-
better.
How fast?
Pretty fast. Oh, shouldn't I?
You better.
Teacher.
I should test you.
You better.
That's a, no, you might, yeah, I'm the
Yes.
teacher.
Oh, yeah, you might.
Although there are some teachers that kind of fake it.
Fake what? The smartness?
Well, yeah.
The baseball game
Can I
today?
have an example?
Okay, can we go just ask me that kind of stuff after
Are
class?
you going to the baseball game today?
Next dumb question.
There's no dumb question.
No, we have math team practice. I'll be watching it from right here, the Skybox.
I'm not charging.
Okay,
Come on.
here's the. It says at which of the points are the first and the second derivative both negative? Okay, now if the first derivative is negative, that means
Slope is negative.
Slope.
no wait. That means that the graph is going downhill. It's decreasing.
Yes.
So we're looking for where the graph is going downhill. And if the second derivative is negative, that means it's concave down. So at what point is the graph decreasing and it's concave down? That one right there, which is whatever. See how easy that is? That's just the appetizers, people.
Well, that sounds pretty good.
I just wrote.
Okay, the next one. Oh my gosh, Mr. Park, if it's difficult to solve for y or impossible, how do I find the derivative? What kind of differentiation do I do?
Implicit.
Implicit differentiation. Taruya,
Getting there.
The softball one.
Y
What?
squared, 3y squared, y prime,
Okay.
x plus y cubed,
Probably
x
not.
prime,
But what is x prime?
One.
One. The derivative of x is
One.
1. Okay.
plus 2y y prime x squared plus y squared 2x
Equals?
0.
Good. Because that's the key step when you do implicit. Just remember, when you do implicit differentiation, the derivative of x is 1, but the derivative of y is dy dx, or y prime. And then you need to solve for y prime. Can you guys do this in your head now? Look, these are the two y prime terms. Never mind, you can't do it in your head. We're A, B, I forgot. Throw everything else on the other side. So it's going to be minus y cubed minus 2xy squared. Factor out the y prime. This is just algebra here. And then divide. So y prime equal, it's the same procedure every single time. Over 3y squared x plus 2x squared y. Now that's not the answer yet. It says, what is the slope at the point 2, 1?
Then you plug it in.
So what you do is you plug in 2 for x and 1 for y. And you guys got the answer, so we can move on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to skip number 4 for now, because I'll tell you the truth, I've never seen a problem with number 4 on the AP exam.
What?
I do want to come back to it, but we're just pressed for time now.
What is that?
We'll come back to it if we have time. 5. I just want to make sure you get the basic concepts down. Which of the following statements is true? Now they're talking about extrema, which is what? What is extrema? Maxes and mins, and they're also talking about points of inflection. So how do you find max, mins, and points of inflection? You find the first derivative, and then you make a number line. I'll just do this quickly. So what can I factor out? 2x squared, and so you're going to get 2x minus 3, right? So when you make a number line for the first derivative, you're going to have 0 and 3 halves. And how do I know it's going to be plus, minus, minus? Just plug in numbers if you have to. Anyway, f is decreasing, f is decreasing, f is increasing. That means there's a minimum at 3 halves. Can we answer the question or at least eliminate? So A is out because it has a min at 3 halves. Has one relative extreme. Oh, the answer gotta be C.
Yeah.
Because that's the only one that has one relative extrema. There's only one minimum point right there, that's it. Anyway, if you were to find the points of inflection, what you would have to do is, you gotta find the second derivative, which is 12x squared minus 12x. Factor it. See how they make it really nice and fast? Make a number line 0 and 1, plus, minus, plus, f is concave up, f is concave down, f is concave up. So there's 2 points of inflection right there. Right there. Automatic, just do that every single time when you have max, mins, and points of inflection. Okay, number 6, I'd be very upset if we didn't get this correct. All you have to do is take the derivative and plug in 0. Now, what did I tell you? Whenever you have a trig function to a power, I keep telling you guys to do that, right? Okay, so the derivative is, who's up here? Imada.
2 sine of 3 minus x times negative cosine 3 minus x.
Oh, that's correct. Oh, she did it all in one step. Right? Because the derivative of sine box is cosine box, but then you got to multiply it by the derivative of box, which is negative 1. And you can bet if you forget that, the answer is waiting for you there. And then, of course, the next step is to plug in 0. Did we plug in 0 correctly? 2 sine 3 times negative cosine 3. Is that answer there?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they were going to pull a double angle on you, but they didn't. Right? Because look, 2 sine x cosine x. Isn't that the same thing as sine 2x? But they didn't do that. So. Now number 7, I would think at this stage already, we just nailed this. How do you solve differential equations?
Separate.
Okay, separate the variables. That looks like the one we just did. Y squared, do I need to do this?
No.
No, okay, you guys can do
Next.
this. What is the average rate of change? Okay,
Next.
we have a formula for that. What is that formula? Wait. Oh, what is the formula for average rate of change?
Oh.
This is like a drill. What's the formula for average rate of change? On the closed interval from 0 to 3. There's a formula for it. No. F of
What? I don't know, what?
3,
Minus.
F of 0 over 3 minus 0.
Okay.
Remember, wait, were you here yesterday? Students always get confused with average rate of change, average value, and the mean value theorem. This is average value, which is simply the slope connecting these 2 points. That's all it is. So, they actually give you the function. Can you guys plug in now? You guys can plug in these numbers into this function, right?
Yeah.
But then, that's why we gotta do drills, people.
Isn't it-
Hopefully, if we keep drilling over and over, by the time May 7th comes around, we know at least something. Come on.
Isn't that the week after Family Fair?
I don't know.
Is this exactly like how the test is gonna be?
These are, I don't know if these are previous, because they don't make the multiple choice questions public very often. So, I have a feeling though, these are probably older,
Harder,
But
yeah.
This is the kind
No,
of
no,
vocabulary.
these are
Yeah,
not harder.
you said older is
But
harder.
these are this is the kind of vocabulary they're
No,
gonna use
from
when they
the
ask.
70s, those are really hard, yeah.
This is the kind of
Why?
vocabulary they're gonna use when they ask.
Exactly. Isn't that the same vocabulary I use?
Not sometimes, like gorilla.
Oh gosh.
Banana.
Okay, when is the speed increasing? Okay, here's a drill problem. How do you determine if the speed is increasing?
Same
Cycle.
sign. Oh.
The sign to this.
There you go. The velocity and the acceleration have the same sign. So what you gotta do is, can you guys do this? You make a number line for the velocity, you make a number line for the acceleration, and you just look where they're the same sign, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Look, number 10. This is the kind of integral you gotta be able to do on the AP exam. Did you guys get it? How do you do it?
Distribute.
You
Multiply it out.
distribute, multiply it out, so you're gonna get x to the 3/2 minus x to the 1/2. And once you do it like that, it's easy, right? Okay, number 11, I would hope you could just look at this and write down the answer, right? Because the limit is approaching infinity. Or did you guys use L'Hopital's rule? No, come on, I taught you! Just look at the power on the top and the bottom. If the degree of the top and the bottom are the same, you just look at the leading coefficients. So Harada, what is it? Negative 1/4, because look, what's the coefficient of x squared on the top? 1. What's the coefficient of x squared on the bottom? Negative 4, so 1 over negative 4 is your answer. You gotta know what to look for. And of course, if you don't know anything, just use L'Hopital's rule, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going along. Okay, number 12. The figure above shows the graph of, you got a parabola and a line. What integral did you write to compute this area? What integral did you write? Come on up.
Integral 5x minus x squared minus 2x dx. Bring 3, 0.
0 to 3. Why do you guys keep going top to bottom?
Because it started from the top.
No, it's from
Stop,
here to
stop,
here.
now.
Anyway, is 3 the correct point of intersection?
Yeah.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, it
Very
is.
good.
Thank you.
Okay, number 13. Oh, here we go. This is a drill problem. How do I take the derivative of an integral? Wait, I gotta call somebody E.
X squared times.
There you go. And what is this called again?
The fundamental theorem of calculus.
1. Very good. How do you take, everybody knows how to do this? How do you take the derivative of an integral function that's in, you take this thing and plug it in here, that's how you get the f of x squared, and the most important part, you gotta times it by the derivative of that, which is 2x.
How come they didn't just like name it a different name instead of like part 1?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's so confusing.
Anyway, I bet, I didn't look at the answers yet, but I bet you that's one of the answers right there without the 2x. Let me look.
Yeah. It is.
See? You gotta multiply by the derivative of that thing.
That's tricky.
That's not tricky.
Just saying.
That's just regurgitating. Okay, number 14, okay, here's like the opposite thing. They actually give you the slope fields and then they ask you which one it is. Did you guys get it?
Yeah. Oh wait.
That
So,
was easy.
how would you even do this problem then? How did
Plug
you
in
guys?
numbers.
Plug in numbers.
Okay, very good, plug in numbers, like if you plug in 2 for x and 1 for y, or whatever numbers, the slope should be 2. So at the point 2 comma 1, you're looking for a slope that's like that. And then do a point in the second quadrant, do a point in the third quadrant, do a point in the fourth quadrant, and hopefully you can pick it out by then, right? Can you guys do it? Okay, now we got calculator. Now, oh, by the way, starting on Monday, you gotta have your calculator every single day now. Because sometimes I'm gonna give you a problem with the calculator, sometimes it's without.
What if you don't have? You just can you borrow?
Yeah, but not from me.
Oh.
What do you mean? How are you gonna take the AP exam if you don't have it?
Borrow.
Okay, I don't wanna even know. A particle travels with this velocity. Now you guys gotta start practice punching in stuff on your calculator. What is the total distance traveled from 0? Come on, this is an insult. Zhang, what integral how do I find the total distance traveled? Read what's on your paper. Stare at the wall. The integral from 0 to 2.
This is 2 0. Here's 0.
Did you say 2 to 0?
Start from the top. I'm telling you.
Of what?
Bless you. Bless you.
You just mumble because I'm going to write the correct one on the board. This is how you find the total distance traveled. It's the absolute value of the velocity. What if you didn't put the absolute value of the velocity? Then you get this displacement. And I'll bet you that answer is waiting for you.
Yeah.
Yep, you can bet your 50 it is. You gotta put that absolute value on there. And I'm gonna break it up into separate integrals.
No.
Tagawa, you're blocking!
Oh man.
No, you just put the absolute values on your integral on the calculator. You're killing me. Okay, number 16. Did you guys do the washers? Okay, good. We're skipping. Oh, I like 17. Okay, I'm not going to draw this graph on the board. Let's look. The graph of a function is shown below. If the limit as x approaches b exists, that means coming from the left and coming from the right, it's got to be going toward the same point. And f is not continuous, that means there's some kind of break there, then what is the value of b? So at what point is it approaching the same point from the left and the right? However, it's not continuous there. It's at 0, right? Because that's the only place where there's a break. Because at 1, it's going toward the same point, but it's continuous. But they want to know where it's not continuous. Okay, number 18, how many people got this? This is a tough problem.
Are there problems like this on the
Yes. They always have to have problems that separates the sheep from the goats. If they make every single problem easy, how are they going to tell the 5s from the 1s?
They made the SAT easier.
Believe me, this test is way easier than it was 20 years ago.
See, I told you older is
Oh,
hard.
I'm sorry, 40 years ago. Okay, what time is it? This might be the last problem. Which of the following must be true about f prime of 1.2? Okay, first of all, what the heck is f of 1.2? That's the slope when x is 1.2. Now, is there any way I can compute the slope exactly? No, because they don't give you a function, they're just giving you points on it. They're just giving you this table. Okay, I'm just going to tell you already. If I find the slope between these 2 points, that's an estimate of what the slope is going to be, right? So how do I find the slope between these 2 points? You go y minus y, which is 0.2, over x minus x, which is 0.1, which comes out to 2. Now find the slope between these 2 points. So go y minus y, what is that, 0.18? All over x minus x, 0.1, you get 1.8. So if the slope from here to here is 2, and then the slope from here to here is 1.8, what can you conclude about the slope right there? It has to be between 1.8 and 2. How come? What would be the reason?
No, mean by 2.
No, you got it, you have it, the intermediate value theorem.
Oh.
Because if the slope over here is 1.8 and then over there it's 2, then it's gotta hit it somewhere in between, right, over there. That's called the intermediate value theorem. Okay, and, okay, the bell's good. Okay, I wanna finish this because on the problem 24, how many people actually did code red like you're supposed to?
That's so hard.
One,
Code easy.
Code easy.
you changed the name.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, Buddha.
So only one, did you do code easy?
Yeah.
So 2 people. Nobody else did code red. This is exact, okay, you guys better practice this problem. When you see this problem, if they ask you a question about a function, and then you have to find something about its antiderivative, that's when you do code red. You integrate this from, what limit should I put on? 0 to 2, because this is equal to f of 2 minus f of 0. This you can calculate on your calculator. This, they tell you, is 1. So all you have to do is do this on your calculator,
Add one.
that's code red.
Oh.
I'm telling you, this is gonna come up multiple times on the AP exam. Okay, there's no homework. But you better be ready for that quiz on Monday.
Thank you.
It's just on area of audience, right?
Yeah.
That's it, the stuff that we did for the last part.
Yes, exactly. You getting it now?
It's a part.
Yeah, it's not hard.
It's not hard.
It's not, you just gotta put the words
Mr.
in.
Park, are you gonna have this speed quiz done by the end of school?
Yeah.